Yo, what up, Brookago? What the deal be? We have lots of things to talk about. Hey, you know what? It's about that time we get real funky.
Spawnable is the premier podcast spotlighting people of color. Every week, we talk news, what we've been playing, and tell you who's invited to the cookout. Our show is all about talking about gaming through a prism of blackness, because we are the culture. Welcome to Brookago, y'all.
What the deal be, everybody in Brookago? This is Kahlief here. This is episode 343 of our show, What the Deal Be. I hope you're all doing well in here, Brookago, here in Twitch land, here in podcast land, here in all the lands that you occupy and you rock with. What is going on? I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're washing your hands, washing your butt. I hope you're keeping away from people in your 6-foot distancing and all that loveliness right there. Thank you to everybody who's come through tonight. Thank you for everyone who has rocked with us all week, all month, all year. It has been a fantastic 2020 for us, and it's just going to continue to get better. It's just going to continue to be really funky and amazing, and that's all because of you and the work that you've done. If you missed our last episode, we talked a lot about multiple things. We talked about the army not getting their stuff together on Twitch. We talked about a whole bunch of different topics. So if you missed that show, please make sure you're checking that out. And go check it out on the podcast feeds. We are on everything in the world, everything possible that you can go check out. I'm just saying, if you're not listening to the show, you're missing it. And please make sure you're checking out our work over on YouTube. We are almost at 2,600 subscribers now. And that is fantastic because, we have been trying to figure out good ways to make that thing move in the way that we hoped. All that to say, I am very excited about today's show. We have an amazing guest I'm going to talk about right now. At the end of the show, once we let them go, we're going to give our Ghost of Tsushima review. We're going to do it live. We're going to make it happen in front of everybody. I'm probably going to mess it up, but it's going to be totally fine. And then we also get to debut our new merch that's going to be coming out soon. So without further ado, to make sure that we don't take up too much of your time, we got to talk about the man, the myth, the legend. We have a very fantastic guest. We have rocking with us this week. We have the man, the myth, the legend. We have Adam Sessler rocking with us here in Brookago. Please give it up for him in the chat. Give him some love. My friend Adam Sessler, what the deal be? How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing better now that I'm seeing you because you look great. It's 2020. You're having a great 2020. I'm having everyone else's 2020, which is I haven't seen beyond the corner store in months.
It's one of those weird things where it feels bad saying that you're doing okay in this year.
Yeah, or else people are like, you might need to go see a doctor, have that checked on,
They're like, who in the hell are you and why in the hell are you doing? Are you doing well out here in these worlds? What goats did you sacrifice to make things happen? Get it done?
But having said that, Kahlief, I mean, my God, like in the past month, I don't. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting something where you're on in the internet. And congratulations to you on that. No, it's well deserved and it's really cool to see.
Thank you, man. First of all, I love you. You're fam. And it sucks because it's like it's been. I just looked it up like 2 minutes ago, and I was like, we haven't had you on the show in almost 5 years.
5 years? No.
I think it's been 5 years. I think the last episode we did was episode 81 of the show, unless there was something else that happened before then that I don't remember.
You've never done a show together in the Trump era until now?
No, we haven't.
It's 5 years ago. Then
we haven't.
Wow. That's a lot of repressed rage that I have not been able to unleash.
Now, I mean, between all of our salty ass text messages between us,
exactly.
It's
not that you haven't heard my thoughts; just the general public hasn't heard it through the veneer of spawn on me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the beauty of our home and you being a Brookago resident is that anything goes. You can say whatever the hell you want, and it's totally fine.
If I have to reiterate it, then for anybody, then they don't know me well. It's probably going to come out somewhere in the course of this show anyway. So.
It'll have to do what it needs to do, and that's totally fine. Well, I love you, fam. I'm happy that you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
How have you been? What's been going on in Sessler's world?
Well, Sessler's world has been pretty much a mixture of not going outside much, because San Francisco was like the earliest to do shelter in place, and ever since then it's probably been the most conservative in terms of getting out of it. And now with everything happening in California, it's just retreated all the more.
Yeah.
So it's just me and the wife and the dude at the corner store. Like, he's my only other friend, and like our friendship got to a point. It was really cool that like when everyone was like hoarding everything.
Yeah.
He would text me. He's like, toilet paper's here.
Yo.
I'd be like, yo, heading down, getting the toilet paper, coming back. Like, never had to worry about it. That's why always be good to people in the service industry. You know, it's like it will pay you back. You'll get a little more guacamole, or you get some toilet paper.
I mean, that's the thing, though, right? Is like, I don't think a lot of people really understand just how well you have to treat those folks in that industry, because one, they're always, under the gun because they have to do all the stuff. And then also, it's one of those things where just like, if you need something, the cat at the bodega usually got you. Like, usually those folks are the ones who like will hook you up and keep you sane. I at this point, I think I have not seen outside in a real way probably like in 2 months. Like, I go take out the garbage and do that stuff, but besides that, like going and actually doing stuff outside the world,
right?
Like, everything is just like, oh, I think I will hit that button and that thing will come to my house at this point.
It's funny because if you watch Fox News, I was assuming you were reading by all the fires burning your city down, because it's apparently a hellscape unlike anything that we've ever seen before, except for Seattle.
Well, interestingly enough, the National Guard is come to Portland in the past 24 hours.
I saw this really freaky video where they literally just like gaffled this girl off the street and threw her into a van. It was that was like alarming. Like no joke at all. That was like
it's madness right now here in Portland. Like, it's weird because like the way Portland kind of runs is like all the actual protests are happening in downtown Portland. And Portland is kind of segregated into quadrants, right? So when people ask you what part you're from, you're like, oh, I'm from Southeast, Northeast, whatever. Outside of downtown, it's pristine and people are chilling and people are going to the park and socially distancing and all this other stuff. And then you go downtown and it's like tear gas and people getting hit with rubber bullets and people breaking stuff and do all this madness. And it's such a weird thing because like I watch the national news more than I watch the local news. And watching the national news and watching Trump, you would swear that we're like in fucking Thunderdome.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, I just got donuts delivered. Donuts delivered doesn't mean that we're in Thunderdome. Like Caviar is still running, and fucking Postmates is still doing shit. So like,
it's but
it's madness. It's madness.
If you're 75 and that door's even scarier than it is for you and me, and you're never going to cross that threshold. It's just because, all the Utes are out there doing the burn-ins. Okay, the last question I have about Portland is, is there something uniquely wrong with your police department? Like, usually there's some, I can't speak for Seattle because I know there's problems there and stuff like that. I've seen in San Francisco, like in cities that have kind of a liberal tradition, you tend to get a PD who's functions under rules and regulations that are a little bit more understanding of what the tenor of the city is. Yeah. And everything I keep on seeing out of Portland sounds like it's like they seem to have not noticed that there was ever a cultural shift that was happening within the city.
Well, the interesting part is that, so we had a black police chief for a little bit. And when George Floyd was murdered and then the uprisings happened and the conversations happened and the riots and protests happened, it was an interesting call from the city to be like, yo, we need people who are going to do right by the citizens. And this particular person, this particular person, I think it might be a reverse. We had a white person and they gave the spot to a black PD officer who then became that person who became the head of the PD. And then when that stopped to work, then the mayor said, fuck it, and took the whole thing back. So right now, the mayor is kind of running the shots, and the mayor is also listening to Trump at this point, which is weird because the mayor is also a progressive mayor. So it's super weird where it's just like...
that sounds a little cross-purpose.
It's super weird. It's super weird because it's like the idea of having progressive folks run a city is, it's been here for a very long time. We've had that conversation for a while. The interesting part is now with Wheeler not understanding that the protest parts have fairly been reasonable until his folks have come in, and then the National Guard have come in. Like, they are, the most interesting thing for you to watch, if you want to know about Portland, kind of like the governance that's happening right now and the way that everything's kind of moving, is watching all the Periscope streams that happen on Twitter. So there's a bunch of those. And there's a bunch of, folks on the ground with their cameras out there watching stuff, and they catch all the police doing all the rotten shit. And it's nuts, because all the rotten shit that everybody else is seeing across the country, it is absolutely happening here, and it's happening in droves, because like that same person got snatched up and put into that van.
Because they're sitting there taking notes from all the other cities, and they're like, okay, I have the best ideas of the bad shit that we can do. Yeah, that's
they're like, can we throw a smoke bomb down and then drop out of a tree and snatch somebody up? Yeah, we have money for that. It's like, what the fuck is happening right now?
That's like a Predator game.
It's like a Predator.
I was about to say, like, I know you're doing your Ghost of Tsushima review, but I have a feeling you can do that in that game. I haven't played it yet. I can't remember the last Samurai game where I can't drop a smoke bomb, jump out of a tree, and put a sword through someone's head.
Oh my god, it's kind of like, the PD right now. They're doing that kind of thing. It's nuts.
Actually, there's been more than watching all the bad police behavior in the wake of the George Floyd tape and all of that. I really got this sense that a lot of them are living this weird fantasy life. Like, they've watched too many action movies. Yeah. They didn't go into the military, and they're playing video games, and like all the ideas are stemming from that. It's
That to me right now is like the weirdest part of all of it, which is I'm used to bad policing being from New York, but bad policing out in New York was very, very different, because it was like the energy that was there was a basing. It was based on the like angry kind of energy that's always in that city. Like, that city always has like beef with something, right?
Right. You're always like just like 5 seconds away from just popping off.
Like, oh, you stepped in my Tim, like, I'm gonna fuck you up. It's that kind of stuff. But it's also like the city just has like energy to it. Portland is very chilled out. Portland is a very chilled out state. It's like a very chilled out city, I should say. And to see the police that you hardly ever see in the city when it wasn't, before all the protests happened, like, you would see like 3 cops like in 6 months. And I'm just like, where did all of you come from? Like, did you?
I feel like there's like these little spawn areas that you need to get to, and just like hack. Okay, less cops.
I was like, how many gallons of water did they throw in all these gremlins to get all these gremlin cops to kind of just magically appear? Anywho,
speaking of bad policing, though, as someone who lived in LA in the early '90s under Daryl Gates, it was bad policing, just like New York was bad policing, but entirely different. I mean, it was just an occupying force of scary ass motherfuckers. Like still to this day, it just okay. This is the last thing I'll say about it. It's really funny. Like, when I moved back to LA after my first experience down there in college, which was during the LA uprisings and everything like that. Yeah. I moved back. Now I'm on G4 and everything like that. And I'm walking back, from Canners to my apartment, and 5-0 rolls up on me, and like I go back to just having like heart going like this, and like they roll down the window and like, "Yo, you Adam Sessler?" I'm like, oh, this is different. They gave me their business card. So let me just explain, like, yes, privilege can extend to ways that I didn't even know was possible. So.
That is the worst version of Cheers I've ever heard in my life. Everybody knows. Oh, shit. Wow. My God, that is not my experience with the LAPD. No, but that's
very few people.
That's weirdly fucking dope.
Like I said, they play a lot of video games.
Well, speaking of video games, there are lots of things in the world right now. I know that you have been playing. I see you playing stuff on my PSN. And I try not to bug you, because I'm like, I know you don't have a lot of time to game, but it's good to see you. No,
Kahlief, I have a lot of time these days.
Some time to game here now.
Just so you know what the day in the life of Adam Sessler is now, I wake up, I look at the news. If my heart isn't beating too much, I make a cup of coffee, and then I read a book. Try to get 100 pages in. Then I make breakfast, and then I start playing video games until I get bored. And then I either watch the news or try to find something that isn't the news to distract me.
Yeah.
That's my day. Oh, and then I go to bed.
Yeah.
I have a beer, and then I go to bed.
Hey, I ain't knocking that hustle. That's reasonable. I ain't knocking.
No, yeah, it's not the worst life. I'm going to acknowledge that right now. But I just can't tell Monday from Wednesday from Friday.
I don't know what months are. I don't know what months are at this point. I have no clue what any of that time business is at this point. What the hell have you been playing of late? What's the stuff that you've been digging into for sure?
Last of Us 2. Once I started that game, I couldn't. I'm not going to let any other game into my life.
Yeah.
This is my 9.5 weeks, I guess. It's just
that is not
nobody else, just me and Last of Us 2. Kids, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go find out what I'm talking about. Mickey Rourke used to be a movie star.
Oh my God, that was the man. That's so many conversations about fridges and fruit. Fridges and fruit. A lot of conversations there to be had about that conversation. Anyway, keep talking about that.
Also, it's funny. I played it. I did take a break for a week, and not because of the game. It's just one of those, because of everything going on, life can sometimes get in the way.
Yeah.
And I like to play games when I'm in I want to play games disposition. I have that luxury now. I don't have to review games or anything like that. Yeah. So it's I can't take any tension in my life. Everything's upsetting me. It's no, we're just going to hold off on the game so I don't fight the game.
Yeah.
As a result, I just loved it.
Yeah.
I have just very few nitpicks. I know that you felt the game was a little on the long side.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. I can easily see how, you can see that. And it's so interesting still, the idea that I stop playing a game when I feel like I want to stop playing a game.
Isn't it nice?
And pick it up. And it really does. And the big thing, there's so many things I love about the game. The production, first and foremost. But I loved just taking it at my own pace. You have these incredibly tense, combat scenarios. Then it's I am going to now open every drawer I can open and collect, every piece of whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I know that if I was reviewing it under a time pressure, I was just come on, give me some scissors, give me some tape. I want to make myself, I want to make my bat stronger and stuff like that. And like that kind of tension. And as a result, I felt that similar to Red Dead Redemption 2, it's asking you to just luxuriate, even though Last of Us 2 is not a world you want to luxuriate in, but at the same time, it's there's just so many things I found fascinating. And the other part that I still can't get over is there were 2 times where I thought I had completely tooled myself. I was going to have to go back 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then it's hold on, let's reassess. And then I could find a way through. And I can't figure out if the game is throwing maybe the pickups suddenly shift to be able to assist you, it can tell, or if the game is just so cleverly balanced that there's always a way forward. It's the scene where you meet the siblings for the first time, you drop them off in the trailer, and you head back to, it's Owen, I believe.
Yep.
You do the nasty.
Yep.
You wake up the next morning, and she's I got to go get the kids, and suddenly you're there. And so, despite the fact that you went through a couple big battles and probably emptied out a lot of ammo, that's all you have. And you have 3 of the big dudes with the hammers.
Yep.
And it's I don't know, but there was a way through.
Yeah.
And then once you discover it, it's I'm the smartest guy in the world.
They do pathing really well in that game, which is a thing that you don't see, and I'll talk about that later on with Ghost of Tsushima. But it's they do a really good thing in terms of, I never felt like the fights that I should have taken, I was being punished for me trying to figure it out either way. It was I'm going to go stealthily, or I'm just going to go kind of balls to the wall. Yeah. I felt like either way, I always felt like I had enough of a command of the situation, of the terrain, of the way that the enemies were going to kind of come at me. Yeah. To be able to dispatch of them in good and smart ways, which to Naughty Dog's credit is really hard to do over that long of a period of time too.
It does make me wonder, because obviously this game had a significant delay.
Yep.
Several times. And at one point I felt like, oh, maybe it's for content. And when you first switch over to Abby full time, but you don't realize, like, at first I thought like, oh, this is going to be kind of maybe I'll spend a couple of hours playing Abby and then I'll go back to Ellie.
Yeah.
And I'm playing it, and then suddenly you notice like how many upgrade slots there are, and I'm like, that's as much as Ellie. And then I'm like, oh, I'm in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
And so at first I thought, oh, the Ellie stuff is maybe some of the. I'm sorry, the Abby stuff is some of the stuff that they added in, but I don't think so. I would argue that it's this polishing to just get all those touches down so well.
Yep.
That for as miserable as the circumstances of the game can be, although I was not as brought down by it, I think as other people were. It doesn't create friction. I think also like the fact that it's auto saving you exactly where it should most of the time. One time it really screwed me. Like, don't auto save me when one of those shambling things is just literally right there, and I'm like, Molotov, throw, run.
Yeah. There was one time when I was like, I think it was the first or second dog section. And I hadn't figured out like the angles at which the dogs kind of leap at you. And I was trying to figure out like, oh, am I supposed to swipe at this dog with my knife, or am I supposed to just shoot it? And that took me a couple times because I was trying to play that thing stealthily. Like people had a whole bunch of qualms about like, oh my God, I don't want to kill the dog and the dog's going to make noises and all shit. I was like, yo, these dogs got to go. In my way. Yeah. These dogs are in my way.
This is a desperate world and the dog is trying to kill me.
I was like, I'm sorry, this isn't a Sally Struthers, doggy moment where, we're gonna have that moment. I'm like, nah, these dogs are trained to kill me. I need to get these motherfuckers out of here so I can continue to do that stuff. I guess for my question for you about the game, because I know you finished it at this point. Yep. Spoilers maybe are going to happen if they haven't already had it in the conversation in the chat. There are spoilers here, so check out the review. It's on YouTube.
Run away.
Yeah, run away. Did you have a favorite moment in the game after kind of like sitting with it?
So many moments I liked.
Yeah.
I think I liked some of the quiet moments a lot. I'm talking like the flashbacks.
Yeah.
I know like the first flashback that I think went on a little bit too long, but I found it so satisfying at the end. The first one where you learn to swim and you go to the Natural History Museum.
Yep.
Like that touch at the end with the firefly thing. And it's just like, it's so much like what the game is. It's just, everyone's so desperate. It's kind of like a very intense version of what we're going through with the virus and sitting at home. It's like we just want something that feels comfortable, safe, and normal.
Yeah.
And for that moment, the two of them shared something like that. And then there's that dark memory.
Yeah.
And it's just I like that. It's all the flashback stuff with Joel, I just felt like really added this emotional weight to what was happening. And oh God, the final cutscene with the ultimate flashback, and it just drove home. Oh God.
It was so I mean, it's one of those things too where it's like, I think what Naughty Dog continues to nail is like, you have a layer of suspension of disbelief that has to go along with all of it, right? But I think that even, and I'm really bad about that. Like, I see holes in everything at this point, and I'm just like, oh, why would you do that? Oh, that's better. Why would you do that? And it felt to me that even in the spaces where there were holes that you could pick apart, you just didn't care enough to do that work because of all the things.
You're invested enough, and like you just, exactly.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, I could look at that and be like, why? But also, I loved the fact that Ellie was just a fucking badass. Like, the whole conversation about like, was this too much of a revenge tale? And for Ellie, like, sure, there are holes in that conversation, but I don't see women characters like her often in any form of media, right?
Well, and I felt I mean, I felt that the first game was very much a Western.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's such a classic trope of get the person to the place.
Yep.
You know, or like 310 to Yuma, like get to the place to get the person, you know, the variations on that. And this, from the moment after we see that Joel died and you just see what's going to happen to Ellie, that she's going to get, it reminded me so much of the only good John Wayne movie out there, which is The Searchers. And, you know, where you have this man who's inherently a violent man, who's almost kind of bootstrapping the situation with his daughter in order to indulge his violent tendencies. And that's how I always looked at Joel to some extent in the first game. I didn't think he was a very good person.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I didn't like him at all.
He's very possessive of Ellie, but also he just has this anger and this violence. He actually reminded me a lot of Vic Mackey from The Shield. I'm making another.
That's such a good callback.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah.
And what I saw with Ellie in this is that she starts to go down that path. I mean, he is pretty much the only father she's ever known. And you start to see her take on these Joel tendencies, so that by the end of the game, you know, I felt really ambivalent towards her.
I did too.
And I felt much different about Abby. Like, yeah, that she had the redemption arc.
Yes.
Where Ellie is just, and then what happens to Ellie at the end is like she loses everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not so much like violence is bad.
Yeah.
But it's also about selfishness, selflessness, what you do to survive. I mean, the whole games are always about survival, but at this point, finally, it's like you do need companionship. What Joel always felt he needed, he couldn't lose Ellie, is kind of what Abby learned, that she needs people.
Yeah.
And, you know, I still, you know, you have to imagine what really happened to them at the end of that game.
I mean, and that's the thing, too, where I was just like, you know, with the way that game ends. Well, two things that really stand out for me. Like, when I think about scenes that really stuck with me, the scene of Ellie and Dina dancing in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
That was so beautiful, and that was so well done. And then it made me so mad because I was just like, you gave it away.
So did you believe it?
No.
In the beginning, when that was happening, I was like, oh, God, she's actually laying on the floor of the theater. She's dying, and this is just a vision. Yeah. Because, like, you're so unaccustomed to seeing anything pretty and happy and loving. I was like, oh, God, the rug's going to get pulled out from under me, so I'm not going to go. You know, I'm not going to accept this.
I was like, something must be eating her leg right now as we speak. Like, it has to be eating her leg, right? It can't not be eating her leg, right? But it was one of those things where it's like them doing that, and then giving her that urgency to just be like, I need to do this last thing, which is the fucked up thing, because if you think about that, for most stories, it never turns out well when you need to go do that last thing.
Yeah.
It never turns out well.
I mean, I'm not even the guy who's like, hold on, I forgot something at the store. I'm like, do I really need it? Because you know, this could be the time the dinosaurs arrive. Or the robber shows up.
Yeah, I was just like, come on, Ellie. Like, why would you like? You won. You got away.
And to what I was saying earlier, ostensibly it's because she's doing it for Joel's brother, but she's not. Yeah. She's indulging her own desire to just spill blood.
Yeah, and I think
spill blood to give her some kind of catharsis.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing that. I'm glad you nailed that, because I think the thing that turned it for everybody from that conversation between Abby and Ellie and their two specific analogs that they had there was that Abby, at a certain point, her reason became a more reasonable one to start tracking someone down to kill them, right? Yeah. It felt like an actual revenge tale as opposed to what Ellie wound up doing, which felt super self-indulgent. And I was like, you lost your version to say that you had your Kill Bill moment like 2 hours ago, like 4 hours ago. Abby now gets to do that work and feels like it's actually like there for her to indulge in. What else are you playing besides Last of Us 2? What other stuff are you kind of digging into?
Yeah, I did some Doom Eternal, which I preferred the first one.
Yeah.
I would say it's like, you know, it's a class. They're really fun moments. it just got so hard where it's like, I don't want to do this over and over and over again. But also, there's one thing I remember. This is a long time ago. So when I started out at GameSpot TV, Banjo-Kazooie had just come out, and it just looked great to me. I love platformers. It was big, bright, and colorful. It was very non-threatening, and I was so apprehensive about can I function in this world of video game people. So I'm like, I'm going to play with Bird and Bear, and I loved Banjo-Kazooie. Fast forward maybe a year, maybe two, Banjo-Tooie is about to, is on the verge of coming out. It's E3. We're doing the interview, and they're like, just so you know, the first level of Banjo-Tooie is bigger than all of Banjo-Kazooie. And I'm thinking, why does that excite me? I don't know. I don't think it does. Because that just means, now we have more bad textures for you to get lost in. It's just the bigger is better theory. Sometimes it works, but it's not like it's inherently an improvement. I'm kind of taking a dump on the game. I really did enjoy quite a bit of it, and the controls are just sublime.
Yeah.
But, there was that point where it's like, stop hitting me in the face.
Yeah. That was kind of me with Doom Eternal. I was like, because it made I was like, I would much rather play Wolfenstein than this at that point, because it didn't feel like Doom Eternal and the previous.
Well, and you also had that option of Wolfenstein to maybe go stealth or something like that to kind of get more of a control over your situation. I mean, once again, also like in Last of Us 2. I like to start stealth. It's like, can we just kind of peel away a few troublemakers so that when the shooting starts, I'm not just getting, completely encircled. So the most interesting game, and chat's probably going to be like, what? You've never played this? Which is fine. You can say that. Because I got the Game Pass Ultimate thing, and I'm playing on my rig a lot, and I was like, I want to play, I played Ori, and I was like, God, I loved Ori.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm going to try this Hollow Knight game.
Ooh.
Oh, my God.
Hollow Knight is the shit.
I mean, it's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
But the design of that game is just, it's like, I'm sitting there going, how do you... And then I looked up, it was a 2-person team until, the last month.
Uh-huh.
I don't get that. That's scary.
Yeah.
I'm happy if I make a sandwich that tastes good. And these two dudes made one of the most complex action platformers I have ever seen in my life or ever expect to see. Yeah, so a lot of I've been dabbling around in the action platformer stuff, Doom Eternal. I'm gonna give Tsushima a whirl, and then I'm probably gonna. I have not played Death Stranding.
I was gonna ask you.
It's gonna come out on PC. I'm the guy who's always ambivalent about Kojima.
Sure.
So when I saw the reviews come out for Death Stranding, I was like, oh, it wasn't so much that some people didn't like it. I'm just like, I don't know if this is up my alley right now.
Yeah.
And now all I have is alley. So it's like, screw it. I'm going to play Death Stranding.
I am dying. I wish that I could just sit over your shoulder and watch you play this thing and just see your brain just go through
my
it.
Face going.
Uh-huh.
Because my ultimate Kojima thing is it was MGS4 and all those interludes on the plane with the frying eggs.
Oh shit, yeah.
And the thing is, in Sunny, the creepy looking, I think, child, that might not be a child, I don't know. Maybe it's part of the lore that I've never understood. But it wasn't the frying eggs or the creepy kid. It's the way everyone talked. They would say something and there would be this prolonged silence before someone said something else. And it always reminded me of the plays of Harold Pinter, which are always filled with a sense of threat and dread, but not in what people are saying, but in the long pauses in between what people say. And it just stressed me out to no end. And so that's how I tend to react to Kojima.
I'm dying to see. Please text me when you start playing that shit.
I definitely will. And then you can share those texts on the show.
Oh my god! I may just have a whole segment that's just this is what Adam said during playing this shit.
One other Kojima game story. This one is just so funny. So I'm playing MGS5.
Yes.
And I'm pretty much at the end of the normal game when you're on the truck And who's the guy? He's like the bad guy from Captain America, but Skullface.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, and they're both looking at each other.
Yep.
And you're driving out because it's a real-time cutscene. So they were staring at each other, and they had the conversation. And then I guess because of what I had done earlier, there was debris on the road, and the Jeep couldn't get past it. And so they are sitting there just staring at each other in silence. But it's a Kojima game. So I'm like, oh, this probably is something that he intends. 10 minutes later, I'm still like, I can't tell if this is on the game's doing this on purpose, or if I'm supposed. 15 minutes later, I go to the internet, and I'm like, hey, and everyone's like, that's a glitch. I'm like, oh, okay. So to be fair, that's kind of part of his genius. Is that I spent 15 minutes of my life looking at nothing happening on the screen and thinking it was absolutely deliberate.
He has a lot of Kanye in him, which is real. And it's like one of those things where it's like, all right, I know that was stupid, but I will give you the benefit of the doubt that there may be some reasoning behind it. And once that reasoning will come to fruition, I will probably be mad at what I found out was the thing at the end. Like the eggs thing, yeah, I had I was like, why is this a thing?
Yeah. I'm just thinking about we all have a little Kanye in us, and I'm just like, I think we can take a pill for that.
I mean, look, I know exorcism.
A little bit of penicillin, and I think we're going to clear that up right now.
I mean, man, look, I don't know what's worse, COVID or Kanye at this point. There's a lot, a lot of similarities to things that
Especially
take your breath away.
Like, yeah, I don't believe in the vaccine, and it's like, oh, dude.
I mean,
okay. Here's the funniest part. And on some level, I think there was almost a level that I found offensive about it. People who really thought that he was going to steal votes. It's like, look, how many acolytes can he have to that point? Here's where I will push back against that. Because I am one of those people, and this is my reasoning why. Because motherfuckers is stupid. That's one. Two, we live in a society now where for the memes is an actual thing. And like, just because you can, you might. That's like number 3. And I'm just like, I don't trust humans enough to not have people do that shit. And that was my whole feeling about The Last of Us Part 2. Is that, I don't fault anybody who is like, this game is too much for me. I completely get it. That is an absolutely reasonable reaction. That game is unique.
Yes.
You know? But for me, where I have like that much faith in human nature, I was like, And
so I'm with you, and this is the reason why I'm with you, is because I've seen a couple of folks who I follow in the press and follow, they're all games media folks, and people had like real beef about that conversation to say like, society is not that bad and we would never do that to each other, and that's not the way that we would go. And I was like, that's because it hasn't gotten bad enough yet. I was like, that's the real reason. Again, I can go get donuts when I want. Again, like, we haven't hit this part where like food scarcity is a real thing yet. In the ways that we think that will turn people into rabid human beings. Like, that hasn't happened yet. So go ahead.
Well, it's interesting. And you and I are pretty much, you're Gen X. I'm going to say something that's probably going to set the kids on fire, but I haven't done that yet throughout the course of the show, so I might as well do it now. So the wife, she doesn't play video games. She doesn't usually want to hear about my video games.
Sure.
Last of Us is a different one. She lived through me playing the first one when I was reviewing it and found it very interesting. And so she kind of wanted to be kept up to date on what was happening with this one.
Interesting.
And I can't remember at one point, but I think it's when I was like, Ellie's not like, I wouldn't ask her to prom anymore. And I was explaining what was happening, and she's like, this sounds like a real Gen X game. And generationally, and I don't want to oversimplify millennials or anything like that. I'm going to oversimplify us.
Sure.
That, some of the core tenets is, don't tell me what to do. Like, especially like morally or anything like that. It's like, don't give me your belief system and expect that I'm going to adhere to it.
Right.
And it's almost like, don't give me a pat answer. Don't give me confidence that things are like X or things are like Y. That, things are complicated and usually it's not to my advantage.
Sure.
And that game, and once again, knowing that the leadership of Naughty Dog is also pretty much, of the same generation, I think that they're kind of drawing from that as well. And if I really appreciate someone who actually has that much more confidence that society is better than that. I think that's why kids are actually leading us forward to a better future.
Oh, for real.
I'm Captain Grumble Pants, who's just like, at this point, as long as I can find British beer and not an IPA at the corner store, I consider it a win. Seriously, IPA's nasty.
I don't understand IPAs as a concept. I was like, why do you want to drink ashtray water? That shit is stupid.
It really is just like, it's like, probably I've now angered even more people, probably all in the Portland area by saying that.
Hey, as a Portland resident, fuck IPAs. IPAs are trash. I don't understand why you'd want that shit.
Just give me an English beer.
But the thing that I want to dig into that, because I think that there's an actual like piece of good thing to pull on that is like, I am really happy that the generation that is coming up now is more hopeful and has more of that kind of spirit. And I mean, and let's be honest, they are way more socially adept in terms of the political sphere than we were when we were even anywhere near their ages, right? I think alongside that, though, is a lack of perspective that you get just with age anyway. Yes. Where the always mad, always feisty, sky is falling version, which is interesting because it's like really hopeful and sky is falling all the time.
Well, and this goes to, once you get to a certain age, you realize you're going to have to accept people with flaws. Yeah. Like, it's just, and there's some flaws that are not acceptable, and there are some flaws where it's like, okay, I can, I have friends who don't behave well at restaurants, but it's,
yep.
But obviously that comes up a lot in our politics and stuff like that. I think that's the thing. Hope. When you really have hope, God, this is actually part of Last of Us 2. I mean, there's a lot of discussion of like, don't hope, because when you fall short of it, it's like heartbreak.
Yep.
And you take it like heartbreak, and it feels bad. And I think that's maybe one of the, growing up first under Reagan.
Yeah.
My first cognizant memory is Reagan winning, and my parents freaking out, and some kid in kindergarten told me his parents voted for Reagan, and I clocked him. Yeah. That was a really, really interesting time of my parents trying to discipline me.
Adam, why do you hate actors,
They were absolutely complicit in the situation that created this.
Why do you hate actors, Adam? Why do you hate actors? Just punching people because they used to do that kind of shit. Anyway.
And then Bush Senior. Okay, then we get Clinton. But, Clinton screwed up, and then Monica Lewinsky, it's just like everything, and I think that was the thing where like I really looked past issues with Obama, because it was like the first time where I'm like, you're like 80% good. And I'm like, I've never seen this before. And I'm like, I'll take it. And I think that's the high watermark,
Yeah. All that to say, it is interesting to see the way that the young kids have been kind of trying to figure out themselves while also being in a way more public space than they've ever had before. We didn't have the internet in the same ways that they have the internet now.
And we had a period of time where we didn't have the internet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a long time ago, and I wish it might have actually been Patton Oswalt. I might be wrong on this. But someone pointed out that if you look at all the really important, changes that happened, like the wheel, but like the cotton gin, that caused the Industrial Revolution, the printing press.
Yeah.
In that time, like sort of the introduction of that technology and then the impact it had on society was slow, just because of the nature of commerce and things like that. We are the only generation that can actually say we were there when we didn't have it, and we were there when it was fully ubiquitous.
Yeah,
and it's just very, very interesting. For the low birth rate that our generation exemplifies, we do have this one odd role where we can kind of say like, well, back in the day. rotary dial phones, or you only dislike people through rumor and speculation, not Twitter. It took a little bit longer.
Yeah, you had to kind of like work to hate people.
You had to read People magazine to find out if if Kanye's candidacy was looking viable.
True.
Like you didn't have BuzzFeed or Twitter or anything like that.
Yeah, you're like, oh, you're going through the aisle and in the checkout, and you're like, oh, Kanye's running for president? Oh shit, who knew?
Yeah.
Super interesting in that way. Let's take a 10-second break.
Okay.
Go run to the bathroom if you haven't. Everybody in chat, we're gonna do one more thing in the back end to make sure that everything is looking okay, and then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about industry stuff. I want to get your take on what Phil Spencer said about all the Xbox things that are happening. I also want to get your take on the conversation around Ubisoft and their showcase as well. What up, everybody in Brookago? This is the Spawn on Me podcast. I'm your host, Kahlief Adams. We are rocking with the man, the myth, the legend, Adam Sessler, hanging out with us here back in Brookago.
It's mainly myth, just so you know. It's like no, that really, yeah. He's just kind of small and kind of just wanders about. Like he's got T-Rex hands.
One of the things that I am sad that the internet does not get to partake in with you because you are no longer in the game space in the same way is hearing your takes on the scuttlebutt of the day. I think that one of the things I love about you is that you always come to these conversations with a really good look at the long view. And having a good perspective of not only the top down 10,000 foot view of just like how it all looks, but from a strategic part where people are kind of looking at things. So I know Phil Spencer, they have their showcase that's happening next week, Thursday. We'll be covering it. And we also have an interview with Aaron Greenberg that we're going to have that day.
Oh, too. Nice. Tell Aaron hi for me.
I will tell him that you said hello. The conversation has been, they need to show their first party stuff in a real way, and they're going to do that during that showcase. But what came up earlier this week was a conversation from Phil Spencer talking directly about a couple of different moves they're going to do. So one is the addition of xCloud to Game Pass that looks like it's going to happen once next gen happens. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about what you think about that particular move and kind of the positioning that Xbox seems to find themselves in right now with next gen kind of looming.
I think with the announcement of the xCloud, and I believe it's only Game Pass Ultimate.
Yes. Not
Game Pass. So that obviously narrows, the field a little bit, but I think there's benefits to having Game Pass Ultimate no matter how powerful your rig is, because there's good indie games that you can play on it. I think what it really underscores is how important Game Pass is to Microsoft.
Yeah.
That it's like, that's probably I almost want to say that's the core moneymaker. That's the subscription. That's the Netflix aspect of what they're doing. And you know what? Let's throw xCloud in there, see if we can get people excited about that. Obviously, get that usability. It's one of those funny things where when they announce xCloud, it's just not my jam. Like I'm not once again, it's just like the way I play games is that I'm very ceremonial about how I play games. It's like it's game time. I like to do it in front of a big screen. If I'm elsewhere, somewhere else in the house, or, once if I ever go back outside again, there's other activities. I'll pull out my phone, read the news, something like that. But I think for, other people, there's viability. Obviously, and also in households where there's like more than two people,
Yep.
You know, there's the value there becomes all the more apparent. But once again, it's, you know, I don't want to say it's like a lost leader, but it's kind of a cool thing that you can be able to introduce to people by selling them a very clearly valuable thing, which is Game Pass. And I think, you know, Sony has yet to introduce anything that even comes close to what Game Pass is. And I think, you know, when, you know, because you were mentioning how important are the first party games. I don't think they're as important as they are, say, to Sony. Like, I think first party games are definitive to the Sony brand. And where all of my interest in a PlayStation 5 is coming from is that I can't, you know, I want to play day and date all of those neat first party Sony games. Whereas with Microsoft, there's now these services to help facilitate sort of, you know, discovering games and playing games that I think diminish how important Halo or Gears of War. I want Microsoft to diversify their catalog. I think it really needs it.
It needs
but
it.
I don't think that's not the tipping point to get people to come over. Like, I think Game Pass, I think the fact that they have a very, very clear plan. I mean, that's what I think was most impressive with what Phil Spencer announced on the Xbox Wire is that they've had this mapped out clearly for a while. They're not kind of like, hey, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. Like, there's something very, very strategic.
GDC like 6 years ago. Yeah, he was absolutely digging into it.
I believe it was last year,
XO20?
I guess it would have been X19. XO19? Is it, what? I don't know what the O is for. Is the O for the year, or is the O like something? Phil, what is the O?
Phil, come on the show and tell us what the O is for.
Ask Aaron for me, because anyway, I think it was XO19 when they were doing the xCloud, when they were talking about Game Pass and all that. I could not get over the fact that it's like they're not trying to convince people; they're coming from a very clear position of strength.
Yeah,
and it was becoming clear, like, you guys have a very strong strategy that you plan to go forward with, and I'm excited to see what they do with that, because I think it's going to at least change the conversation, or how we start to regard what the role of the gaming console is, or the gaming service.
Yeah,
really, you know, and especially when you contrast it with something like Stadia, which just seems to be confused, and it just fits in spurts, and like there's no clear definition to what the benefits are and what you're going to get out of it. I mean, it's because I think at that point, Stadia was still a large part of the conversation.
Sure. And
they were just kind of smacking it down the whole time.
I mean, as a person who thinks that they're pretty tuned in to the gaming industry, I didn't even know they had a direct the other day.
They did?
Yes.
Did they have someone? Okay, I'm just going to say, did they have someone who knows how to blink?
I don't know.
On the direct.
No clue.
Because that's the thing. I get panicked when I used to watch the directs, because it's like someone needs to blink. Because because otherwise you might be coming from the pods.
I don't. Yeah, it's super weird. Like, I don't understand their ideas around what they were trying to pull off. It's super weird.
I mean, it's one of those. Once again, all the stuff I'm saying is not with any insight or knowledge into what's going on. This is just me as sort of an outside observer and just someone who's watched the industry a lot.
Sure.
Google is a very, 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 very big company.
Yeah.
And I don't know how big Stadia is. Not gargantuan. It's not a YouTube. It's not, some of those things. So that tends to sometimes cause problems. I would say that, a lot of people were trying to figure out what happened with those games from Amazon that launched. I think it's a similar thing. It's like, game can be good or bad, but this is not the core directive of the company itself.
No, not even close.
To be fair to Microsoft, I mean, there used to be tons of tension around the presence of Xbox within the portfolio, where a lot of the large investors wanted them to cut Xbox loose and let it, spin out into its own company.
Yep.
And they wisely, I think, held on to it. And now it really is kind of a core element of the overall sort of Microsoft structure. But that is not normal. What is more normal, I think, is what we're seeing out of Google and Amazon.
Oh, for sure. Like you have your kind of like tiger teams that go out and do their thing, and then they do build up whatever they can, and then they come back with a product that hopefully works and people like it. But it doesn't seem like.
But you don't have the full force of the company just like yes.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, like you just don't see that being what it needs to be for Stadia to even do what it wants to do at this point, because they just don't have the oomph behind it to feel like they have enough.
Well, it just doesn't have the distinguishing characteristics, at least yet. We know Jade Raymond has been brought on to do games, but she was brought on so late in the process that I can't imagine when we're going to see these games, unless they were already in production.
For sure. Before we get to Ubisoft, I want to know just kind of like overall kind of sense of where things lay. We see Sony has gotten their feet wet, and they're starting to push out some ideas about what the console is going to be. We see what it looks like. We see all that stuff. Microsoft is now going to show us our first party titles next week.
I think we're expecting price and date.
I hope. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think if they want to really get everyone excited, because I think they didn't lose momentum with the showing of the PS5, but because the box looks different and it looks pretty, I think there is a space there where that conversation has shifted a little bit. And they were really smart about saying, we're going to take 2 months away from the initial showing, get our stuff together, get our first party titles together so that we blow it out of the water for that moment, because then it puts Sony on their heels again, where everyone, once this happens next week, we'll see what happens.
See, that's the thing, is that I definitely would say that Sony's on their heels right now, because Microsoft is being so forthright and specific about features and aspects of the One X, and it's highlighting the fact that we saw some really cool games. From that showcase, but we're really in the dark. Like, there's that part of me that's just trying to figure out between the digital only and the disk drive one. I mean, my gut is like, at the very least, there's going to be $100 difference between the two. Disk drives do not cost $100.
Right.
So there's that part of me that's like, okay, is it a markup, or are there other features that might be absent to kind of, entice you to go for the higher end model? I don't know. And it really starts to bring out the fact that there's a void that seems to be sitting around Sony in terms of those specifics, whereas Microsoft is like, do you want more? Do you want more? Do you want more? Do you want more? And if they do price and date, I mean, I felt at one point that it was going to be like, who's going to blink first?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And now I think they feel like they're going to blink. Here, okay, this is me theorizing. Once again, I don't know anything out there, but there was the article that I think it came out today that the Xbox One X, they've ceased production on it.
Right.
I guess there was even an indication that it's already kind of hard to find.
Yep.
That, I think, is very, very interesting and telling.
Yes.
Because you usually, if you have product, you sell it.
Right.
Unless, I just wonder if the Xbox One X price point, is that we're getting a sense of what the price point is for the Series X, where it's like, if you're going to spend that much, why not spend it on the superior product? Because that's what you're going to get from it. Those are the tea leaves that I'm reading. And once again, if they give the price at least, that means they're not worried about what Sony's going to do, that they feel that they can just kind of carve their own path, and Sony has to be in response. Because we know that, 4 or 5 years ago, Microsoft went first with price, and Sony mopped the floor with them.
Yep.
And like, they clearly made that, I still believe they made that decision in the hours leading up to that press conference, because when they announced what the differences were and what the price was, they have, Sony always has the flashiest thing because they have access to a movie studio.
Right.
They have these incredible press conferences, and then there's this crude PowerPoint display that goes up with the feature set. And it's like, okay, this thing got shoehorned in here at the last minute, but they were able to drop it by $100. And, they obviously were able to take, they were able to grab the reins of this generation.
Yeah, it's going to be real telling if they do give price and date. The internet is going to lose its mind, because then that makes you really start to look at your wallet, right? You're just like, okay, I got a price and date. I know how much I have to spend. I know how much I have to save until that point. I know what I need to do to make sure I can get to there. Yep. And then once that happens, then you're kind of good in a good space.
Am I crazy in thinking that they even like kind of put out there at some point almost like a leasing program, like what we do with our phones now?
I remember something a couple of years ago. Well, no, not even. No.
Yeah.
They talked about it actually in the first couple of announcements. They did talk about
that. Okay, I'm not. See, this is the whole thing with like my dreams are highly clear but really banal. During this whole COVID thing. So like I feel like I could dream about like a leasing program for the Xbox, and I wake up and I think it's real, and I'm like, how do I check this? I don't know.
I remember there being some like step up program, and I'm seeing in the chat, Gamertag Radio, never heard of them. Aaron Greenberg.
Who could that be?
I don't know who that could be. I don't know. I smell burnt ribs. Aaron Greenberg. They said Aaron Greenberg already said the no price next week. Okay.
We did. Okay.
All right. So that's off the table for now.
Okay. So they're still waiting for each other to blink.
Yeah, they're still waiting.
I mean, we're only in July. Oh, here's the other thing I want to throw out there. I want to get your take on this.
Yeah.
Okay. When do we usually get our new consoles?
Usually towards the fall.
No, we usually get them in the first week or two of November. What else is happening in the first week or two of November?
Oh, right. Interesting.
Yeah. This has been a concern for a while, that we have the single most important election of our lifetimes that's coming.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how well you can even market within that maelstrom. Like almost all the oxygen is going to go in one direction. Even I can say like, it's just like, everyone's gonna be sort of fixated on that, and so much of the airtime. I don't know if you can get on Good Morning America with the new Xbox, in the week or two leading up. So I mean, it's just there is that part of me that I wonder if they're going to need to go early, or God forbid they have to go later.
They have to go early. They gotta go.
I think so too. It's I mean.
Because think about
it's going to grind to a halt for about a good week, I think, around that election.
I mean the conversations alone from because at that point we're going to be deep into political like punditry season,
the horse race.
We're going to be doing the debates. We're going to be doing all that. Conversation is going to be happening during that time.
Yeah,
and you're right. I didn't think about that in a real way. If they can get out ahead of that. And especially because of the financial obligation and ask that they're asking people to do with an uncertain economy, with an uncertain government, like they have a really interesting kind of way to balance that out in the way.
Yeah, because also you do the marketing too glibly. It's gonna like they're gonna see them out of touch. Obviously, they don't want to. They have no reason to get their hands into the muck and mire of what's going to be happening with politics in terms of selling the console. Here's
my hope, because we see this happen all the time. Like we remember when Clinton was on the Arsenio Hall show. I'm old. If I see Joe Biden with an Xbox console anywhere near anything, I'm throwing fucking
I would be
everything.
So stunned if that happened, but. Yeah, I can't.
He's like, you're not an Xbox. You don't love Xbox if you don't vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah, I can't. I can't see the video game angle. I could see Bernie with it.
Yeah, because Bernie has
savvy, enough. And I think his staff is savvy enough to have told him, like, hey, go down this path.
I mean, he was on Twitch. He was on Twitch first.
That's right. And then I think he voiced support for unionization within the industry. So.
Yeah. Which again, that was like a brilliant political move to try to get that angle in there. It is going to be
because you get recognized. It's.
Before I let you go, because it's almost time has flown. Besides all the technical difficulties, this time has
because we've had fun, and I miss you. And
I miss you,
fam. To see each other in person.
I know. I saw you in Vegas, and then broke loose.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about the Ubisoft conference? Because I think they had a bunch of cool stuff that kind of got it was the energy around that was actually really weird because of all the allegations, all the stuff.
Obviously, there's that.
But I think like even in the same way that things linger for a little bit, like the news cycle for that was really fast. I'm curious about your thoughts on that.
You're absolutely right that after that, I mean, there was so much buildup. Are they going to address it? Are they not going to address it? Obviously, they didn't. and then nothing happened afterwards. I mean, it's one of those weird things, and I'm just going to put on my amoral PR hat right now. And this is not what I personally wanted to see, but what I had crossed my mind. Yes. They probably did the right thing in not mentioning it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think sometimes when you're in the industry, you think that people are paying as much attention to the things that are happening that we're paying attention to.
Sure.
And one thing I learned over the years and years and years and years is that, like, that's just not the case.
Yeah.
And were they to address it, they would have probably drawn more attention to a much wider audience. So I think that was the strategic logic behind it. Mm-hmm. Once again, I'm not saying that made me feel better about the situation, but I understand.
Yeah,
I sound a little bit like Chris Rock. I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
But I think so. Yeah, there was that pallor over the show. I think my biggest takeaway is I've been very excited for Watch Dogs Legion.
Yes.
And that game looked much different than what I thought before. I mean, it seems a much narrower scope of a game.
Yeah.
And which was, granted, I thought the first game, I'm like, really? Can you do that? And really? But I really wanted to believe.
Sure.
So, but Valhalla, on the other hand, this is the neat thing I think about the way they show Valhalla, and I'm going to give them all the props for this.
Yeah.
They did not. It looked like they did not take a section of game like they usually do for EA, polish it all the way up to what the finished product should be like.
Yeah.
They showed the game as it was.
Yes.
Which is incredibly risky.
Yes.
Because you could see that a lot of the lighting effects weren't there. There's a lot of polish that hadn't happened, but they were able to show it. And I was really impressed that they had enough confidence in the audience to be able to understand that, like, this is to understand gameplay, not to see what the final product is.
Sure.
And if more of that could happen, like, people like in your position be so much happier, because you're gonna like that it'll go back to kind of like what the old days used to be in terms of how games were shown, because you were able to see them at all these different stages of development. That wasn't kind of like, I don't want to say chicanery, but
sure.
Everything is so carefully structured so that you're not like, I found a glitch.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's a good game when it comes out now. That's my angry previewer voice.
I mean, I've met that person. He's a bad tipper.
Yeah,
that dude doesn't tip well. But I think the interesting part about that was getting a chance to get hands on with it in the way that we did.
That's right. You got to play it.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm actually really excited.
I'm also, that's Ashraf's team, and and he's dude is good.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask you, what was your take on? Well, I guess it's a battle royale game, but the best part I love now about all battle royale introductions is watching them rhetorically never say battle royale. It's like, in this character-driven team shooter from 8 different points of view. Yeah, and I can't figure out when that became a bad word, but it's clearly like verboten within the industry.
Well, because you then have all the tie-ins that go along with that, with all the strappings that go along with the bad parts of battle royales, right? It's like, and honestly, weirdly, the funny thing about that is, like, when people reference battle royales as not being good, they really now just talk about PUBG. Like, that doesn't really get into the space of Fortnite.
Yeah,
it doesn't really go into Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing is that we suddenly people who are like, all cutscenes are all QuickTime events are bad.
Sure.
And it's like, most implementation of QuickTime events kind of suck.
Sure.
But it can't, like, it's not like that. That's not the virus. To use our contemporary anxieties. It's how it's implemented that really is what the problem is. And I think the same can be said about Royale.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Hyperscape. I think they're doing a good job with it so far. And I think of all the ones that I've seen in a while that have come out, which was interesting because I played Crossfire X, the one that they talked about from the Microsoft conference before this.
Isn't that a graphics card?
isn't
From
that
the 90s?
a sound card? Yeah, right.
When there was 3DFX, wasn't there like a Crossfire board or something?
I think I definitely got a demo disc from like PC Gamer with the Crossfire card, but like that game, which is more akin to CS:GO, that they talked about in that kind of like same space of talking about shooters and tactical shooters and stuff like that. I played the demo for that. That thing was terrible. That thing was awful. And then Hyperscape comes out of nowhere, kind of, because I didn't really know it was going to be a thing. And I'm really, really enjoying it. But they still won't dig into that whole thing. But they have the best version of what you can do to instantly change the aesthetic, which it needs, to be honest, because it's really generic. But because they're in the faux matrix, you can change up so many different things.
So you have this. If they've already built in, like now looking at what happened with Fortnite.
Yep.
Where they, had to kind of like, okay, how do we justify all of this? They've kind of like built it into the DNA from the outset. Yeah.
That's the way it feels.
That's really clever.
That's the way it feels. And I'm just like, it really makes me think of, oh my God, what's the name of that show? And you know it and I know it because it's Automan.
Automan.
Do you remember
Part
a
man,
show?
Part car?
No, it was
Autobots?
No. So there was a show back in the 80s where this dude had like a full DeLorean.
Oh.
And it was all in neon, and his sidekick was called Cursor. And it's killing me. I don't know why I can't remember it. But that aesthetic. I
remember even as a kid, I'm like,
it.
Don't patronize me with this show.
You know it. You know what it is. I know what it is. I just can't remember the name of it. Chat, if you know it, let us know in the chat.
Yeah,
but it's,
old people in chat, tell us.
Yeah, old people in chat. I know you're in here, Paris. Tell people. Anyway, I called you out on stream. That's terrible. But it has that same aesthetic, and I feel like that will lead to them being able to be super nimble in the way that they kind of want to do that stuff. So
I think that's very, very clever.
Yeah,
it's like that's we're slowly seeing, obviously with Fortnite turning into really a social platform. Like it's like the game is almost taking a back seat to the crazy stuff they're doing, and Ubisoft is usually wise to see what the trends are. They don't always know how to take the trend and do the right thing with it, but that is the right approach to be able to be malleable to where you want to go and like how the wind blows.
Absolutely. Also, I just looked it up, and it is Automan. It actually is Automan. It was a dude, and he had this really big ass glowing blue suit. And anyway,
I mean, I wish
you need to look it up because I wasn't losing my mind.
The options were
It was in 83 and 80, between 83 and 84. It was had the stylistic trappings of Tron.
There was a lot of coke in Hollywood back then. It's like, because how else they're like, I don't know. Cursor, Automan. I was like, yeah, let's make it. Okay, we're done.
Fake ass Tron for everybody. Fake ass Tron. Last thing before I let you go, what's the latest dope musical thing that you've listened to? Because we always get to talk music when you come on the show. What's the most
I've been really bad with music
thing?
But I got so happy when Public Enemy released that track, STFU.
Ooh. Yeah.
State of the Union, STFU.
Yeah.
And it was also it was DJ Premier.
Yep.
That produced it, and like it's like I think this is where my anxiety was like at the highest with COVID, with Floyd George, with just everything. And to hear that resonant bass from Chuck D and also the bass from this song, that was just like, I was just like, that they're always like them and like Eric B and Rakim, like they understood that sonic blast where you're just like, yes. And they did it. Yeah. And it was just like, okay, you just brought me back to being an angry teenager where like I can get out so much of it through the music. And yeah, it was great. I think I spent 2 days just cranking it.
Yeah.
Until the wife was like, hey, I like it too. I like it, but
I need a break. I need to not hear that.
How about you?
Over and over. I've been listening.
I mean, obviously, you were touting the virtues of Black Thought this morning, which you're
oh my god,
absolutely. I mean, I don't understand that talent.
It's madness. Like again, like
I mean, the clarity of thought required to put rhymes like that together
for 10 minutes
off the
straight.
top of your head, it's just
for 10 minutes straight. It is literally is the best freestyle that I have ever seen in my life. Like, I just don't. I have seen many a freestyle over my 40 years of life, and this has been one of the things that I think about all the time, that I go back to. I'm just like, that's not human. Like, humans don't do that. That dude's like some proto-human that we just haven't seen yet. I think two things I've been listening to of late. I listen to a lot of K-Tronada, which I think is fantastic.
Okay.
You should definitely check that out. I was listening to the most recent Little Brother album, which is also fantastic. You should definitely check out. And what else have I been listening to? A lot of KCRW, which is just like that radio station.
No, down in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're a little too twee and precious for me.
Yes.
But also, they have done so much for so many artists that, it's like, you know what? I'll take the chaff and the wheat. Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. If you're listening in chat and in podcast land, like KCRW is definitely worth your time. It's good smoke out music. Yeah.
It's a good smoke to station.
Yes. Especially when they have morning becomes eclectic at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Because we ain't going nowhere.
Roll it for the cats at the bodega. Anyway. Fam, I love you. Thank you so much for coming through.
I love you too, man. No, I needed this so badly. Like, this is going to get me through next week.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me on.
Yeah. I mean, let's not do this in another 5 years. Let's make sure this happens way sooner.
There's going to be news this year, so let's go ahead and discuss the news when the news happens.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Everybody in chat, give him some love. Give Adam Sessler some love. We're going to let him go.
I love you, chat.
Let him go.
I'm out of here.
And we're gonna switch over to a couple of things real fast. Peace, Adam. Love you, fam.
All right.
Yo, everybody in Brookago, that is the fam, Adam Sessler. Thank you so much, Adam, for coming through and hanging out with us. I am infinitely happy at the amazingness that we got a chance to share in that moment. Rocking with him he's the fave. Love that cat to death. We have a couple of things before we end this part of the show for the audio versions of the show and for the YouTube versions. A couple of quick things. We are going to have a really dope show next week. Next week is going to be very different. So, like, I am not going to be hosting the show next week. I'm going to be here, but I'm not going to be hosting the show. Next week, we are going to give the reins over to someone else to run Spawn on Me for the episode. Next week, it's all going to be about Black women in the fighting game community. And the person who's going to be hosting that conversation is our fam, Janae Benet, who's going to be rocking and hosting next week's show with a dope panel of all women talking about the fighting game community in a real way. So Janae Benet is going to be rocking with us, and I'm very, very excited about that because it's going to be super dope having her on the show and doing that work. So I'm super excited about that. It's a thing that I've been trying to figure out a good way to do for a very long time, and I'm so hyped about that. It's a thing, again, with our community, with our platform. We want to continue to open up the floor and give folks who are amazing a space to rock with us in a real way. So Janae Benet is going to be rocking with some dope folks next week on the show. Next week as well, we have the Xbox showcase that's going to be happening early in the morning around 9 a.m. I don't know if I'm going to stream that yet. I may try to stream it so we can do a talk along over that. Either way, even if I don't do that early in the morning once it happens, later on in that afternoon, we're absolutely going to stream some thoughts about what happened during that thing. And we'll probably have a pre-recorded conversation with Aaron Greenberg, who we have an interview with that same day. So the timing is going to be a little bit different because we'll have that stream that shows the conversation around the Xbox Series stuff with Aaron Greenberg. That, we're going to be interviewing him around like 3 o'clock that afternoon. So we'll probably have a stream around 5. And then Janae and the rest of the crew are going to come back at 7 p.m. PST, and they are the folks who are going to rock out on the channel and do their thing while all that's happening. So I am very, very excited about that part of the process. That's going to be really cool to be able to have all that stuff coming through and doing all that work. So I'm very excited about that. The other thing, before we take a quick 2-minute break so that we can do our Ghost of Tsushima review after the first part of the show, is we have a dope announcement too. That Brookago is always trying to come through with new merch, with new dope stuff for you to rock so you can show off your Brookago pride. This is the Spawn on Me shirt right here, rocking it on right now. We have, alongside that dope intro that you saw, that is our new show intro that got played in the beginning of the show, we have a very, very cool new set of merch, a new shirt that's in the store. Also, let me know if this is too loud. Let me know if you're ready for the new joint that's about to drop. Give me some love in the chat. The new joints, we are doing our Black Power Fist shirt, Spawn on Me style. Here we go. Here's the new joints. And then we got some stuff for y'all so you can rock your Brookago pride out there with your fist up real high. So we got dope stuff for y'all. New joints coming. Hang out right after this. We have our Ghost of Tsushima conversation. We're going to do probably about 30 minutes real fast and give you some thoughts about what Ghost of Tsushima was for me. And that'll be my review. Share them out and all that good stuff. And I'll see y'all all in a bit. Mad love. Peace, y'all.